can tell now, Tom Benson, everyone out there that's listening, their ears have perked up.
Oh, absolutely.
There is just this, it's either a sigh of relief or a cry of excitement. They hear the music. They hear the voice.
There's a power surge in radios everywhere in Central Florida.
And that is because Beyond Reason.
It's Yaffe time.
Yaffe time. That is because Beyond Reason Radio is finally back. Yes, finally. I haven't been able to do my show for a little while because I was filling in for the morning show.
Yeah, it's been at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, it has been a couple weeks. I was filling in for the morning show for 1 week, and I'm filling in again next week on Good Morning Orlando again.
We are? You are? Oh, okay.
Did you not know this, Tom Benson?
No, I did not.
Jeez. I'm glad I brought it up.
I am too.
Okay, yeah.
We'll talk later.
Am I going to have a producer next week?
Sure.
Okay. Well, yes. So Beyond Reason Radio is back once again. And, I have a lot to talk about since I haven't been able to do my show. I've been posting the morning show on my podcast, so you've at least had something, so you're not going through Yaffe withdrawals. But I'm back, and there's so much I have to get to because I haven't had a chance to get to it since the last time I've had my show. So here I am. This is Beyond Reason Radio, where I am the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason, right here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. We are on till 10 p.m. tonight. And, of course, Tom Benson, who was putting it in his schedule, I think, or checking his schedule.
No, I was just messaging my significant other to tell her I won't be home until about 10:30.
Oh, okay. It's all my fault.
No, that's all right.
She's going to be mad at me.
She's not home either, so it doesn't matter.
All right, and that is Tom Benson producing in there. How are you tonight, Tom?
We are fine. Thank you very much. It has been a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can stay awake till 10, but we'll try. We'll hang in there.
Well, that's going to be my challenge, I guess, is to keep Tom Benson awake. If I keep you awake, which I would hope I would be able to do.
Absolutely.
I know I'm doing my job.
You've accomplished your mission.
All right. So, yeah, by the way, if you want to call, you can call 407-916-5400, or you can text to 23680 where standard message and data rates apply. So the first thing we have to talk about tonight, the big topic of the week, is, Trump, President Trump.
Who? Really?
Yeah, surprisingly, he has taken over the news again.
He's at the top. Huh?
He's taken over the news cycle. Okay, I'll warn everybody listening now. The first hour of the show is going to be a lot of Trump stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much stuff that he has done, which is usual, and stuff that has happened in the past couple weeks since I haven't been able to do my show. I have to catch up on Trump stuff because he is the president of the United States, and he seems to figure out a way to dominate the news cycle. So I am going to catch up on some Trump stuff the first hour, but in the second hour, we have a lot of other stuff we got to get to as well. And today, I do the stories that are so beyond reason you can't make them up. Today is a doozy. Today we have quite a doozy of a beyond reason story that I definitely could have never made up.
Wow.
So we will get to that.
What a tease. I'm ready.
So, but President Trump is at it once again because he made that decision to send the National Guard troops to the border.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everyone made such a big fuss at. Well, first he said the military, and he's like, I'm going to talk to Mattis about this. And Mattis is like, what? We are? But he said, I'm going to send the military. He decides to send the National Guard troops. He's not the first president to do this. In fact, the last two presidents have done this. Obama and George W. Bush did this. So it's not the biggest controversy in the world.
But because it's Donald Trump,
oh, of course,
they're going to make it a big deal.
Yes, and they're going to call him a racist for doing it. But according to Fox News, sources say you likely won't see a National Guard soldier standing on the border with an M16 rifle arresting illegal immigrants or anything. The military is prevented from enforcing domestic law. What you will see is the Air National Guard helicopters providing backup for border agents, chasing illegal border crossers, or checking out sensor hits to determine the number of immigrants having crossed the line. Guardsmen will also repair vehicles, monitoring and maintaining video surveillance to help provide real-time intel to border agents. And as I pointed out, Trump is not the first president to do this. But I want to get at the real issue here. The real issue, the real debate is the left is not upset that he's bringing National Guard to the border.
Mm-hmm.
They are upset because they want more illegal immigrants coming into this country.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a few reasons why that is. Some of the more obvious reasons, they want the votes. There's no doubt about it. The Democrats know that they can get some illegal votes if they really try, but they know that they think they can get the Hispanic vote if they are soft on illegal immigration. They believe that. This is not controversial. The other reason is, and some Republicans are like this as well, the Republicans and many Democrats want it for economic reasons, cheap labor, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple other reasons out there that I'm starting to notice why there is such a big push to allow illegal immigrants to enter this country. Now, this all started the past couple weeks because you had that caravan. They're calling it a caravan. I don't think they were in a Dodge Caravan, a minivan. No, caravan of immigrants coming from Central America that were going to travel all the way up to Mexico, through Mexico, and come to the U.S. and declare refugee status.
Back in Bud's day, it would be known as a covered wagon.
Exactly right. But there was 1,000 of them, more than 1,000 of them coming up.
Right.
And, it's kind of funny. They were just let into Mexico. Mexico usually has strong border enforcement themselves. No, they just let them on in, and they just kind of pushing them on through. That's rather convenient. And, of course, there's a lot of people in this caravan, so it's got to be funded somehow.
At least 1,000, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I don't think they all just got there on their own. There's got to be someone funding it. George Soros. Yes. But back to this whole, so you have the caravan and you have a lot of these immigrants coming from Central America.
Mm-hmm.
They're claiming refugee status.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the left wants these immigrants to be able to come into this country, as many as we want, because they believe that, well, let me read somebody from the left. Let me read his point of view here. This is Gustavo Arellano from NBC News website. He had an opinion piece on the NBC News website. This is what he said. He said, our Coast Guard should have bulk tents, water, food, and showers for everyone who shows up. And who better than Uncle Sam's troops to offer a formal apology for directly and indirectly creating the conditions that have forced so many Central Americans to make the trek north over the past 4 decades in the first place.
What?
Let me read that again. Uncle Sam's troops should give them water and tents and let them on in and then apologize for them. Why? Because their problems in Central America, it's all our fault. It's all the United States' fault. Our imperialism, our foreign policy has created all these bad situations because America is the bad guy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
This is how a lot of people on the left think. They believe that we should let all these people in and give them all this stuff because, well, it's our fault they have such a bad situation. And America's the bad guy in the world. And all the problems in the world, did you know, Tom Mentor, were created by us, by the United States. Mm-hmm. So because of that, we deserve to have all these immigrants come in. Who cares what it could do to our country? We deserve it, and we should apologize. We should let them in, and we should apologize.
We owe them, huh?
Yes, we owe them. That is a big thinking I'm seeing on the left now, that America's the bad guy, America's at fault, and that's why we should let all these illegal immigrants in. Now, it's completely absurd. What a simplistic view of foreign policy to think that all the problems in South and Central America are our fault, but whatever. Now, there's another thing I've noticed, too, on the left, trying to excuse why we should let all these illegal immigrants just come on in, open borders.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, here it is. This is from Dean Obadiah on Mediaite. This is what he said today. Securing the border is red meat for Trump's bigoted base, who desperately want to keep America white.
Oh,
Trump hasn't been able to deliver on the total ban on Muslims he promised them, but he did end DACA as they demanded so that thousands of young, primarily Latino dreamers would be deported. This show of force at the border might placate those Trumpers outraged by his signing of the massive omnibus spending bill. Ironically, though, Trump will be spending their tax dollars to serve them red meat. Will they care? Probably not, if it prevents the browning of America. So you have other people on the left who believe that the only reason we want to secure the border, it's not because a lot of these illegal immigrants are bringing up crime and drugs. It's not because they come here and take more from the welfare state. It's not because them being here can deflate wages. It's because we're all racist. So unless we open the border and have just totally open borders, we're racist.
Let them all in, huh?
We should let them in, because if we don't, then we're just a bunch of racists. It's the only reason that any Trump supporter, that any conservative, that any Republican wants to secure the border. Not crime or drugs or anything else. It's because we're racist. We don't want any brown people here. This is what I mean. The left believes, one, that America's the bad guy in the world, so should we let him in? And two, that we're a bunch of racists, so we should let them in. We are never going to be able to get to a reasonable compromise on this issue in this country with this kind of rhetoric. It's completely impossible. When you talk to people who believe in these things, and it seems like a lot of people do on the left, you're never going to be able to get to a reasonable compromise with them. They, when they don't like their own country, basically, is what they're saying. They don't like their own country. Well, of course they don't care about any negative ramifications of illegals coming here. They don't like our country to begin with. It needs to change anyway. So this kind of rhetoric, I believe, doesn't help. They want to play the race card over and over again. Now, unfortunately, President Trump did not help them today. Unfortunately, Trump's rhetoric is often also kind of extreme. In fact, Trump said this today in a little town hall discussion when he was asked about, immigration. This is what he said.
Remember my opening remarks at Trump Tower when I opened? Everybody said, oh, he was so tough. And I used the word rape. And yesterday it came out where this journey coming up, women are raped at levels that nobody's ever seen before.
All right, so it's kind of hard to tell what he meant there. In terms of the caravan that's coming up, there's no evidence that women are being raped in this caravan of immigrants coming from Central America.
No evidence that we're aware of.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, it is true that some of these illegal immigrants, especially the gang members and the drug lords, yes, rape can be a problem with them. It's just a fact. But the left wants to ignore the real problems. All of this heated rhetoric from Trump on one side and the left on the other side ignore the real problems that arise from having unfettered illegal immigration. One person who's really been good at pointing this out, in my opinion, is Daniel Horowitz from Conservative Review. This is what he said today in an article he posted. The reality is our immigration policies in sanctuary cities played a large role in increasing the supply of deadly drugs to insane levels relative to what we've seen in the past. The two years with the biggest surge in heroin seizures at the border by far were 2014 and 2015. The years with the largest surge of Central Americans who came because of the promise of DACA. The epidemic level surge in heroin and fentanyl unmistakably coincided with Obama's shutdown of immigration enforcement between 2010 and 2013. The promise of Obama's amnesty resulted in the surge in young male drug mules from Central America, the enriching of the drug cartels who control the smuggling routes, the growth of MS-13 drug distributors, and the poisoning of our people. Daniel Horowitz is bringing out some real facts of why you cannot have open borders, why you have to be able to secure the border, why you can't just let all these illegal immigrants come into this country, and why you can't have programs that can work as magnets. So it could be possible that you let in all these Central Americans. It could be possible that you let them all in, It's 1,000, and they'll be fine. But the point is that when you have a program like DACA, or you have a program like giving all these people refugee status, thousands of people, you are creating a magnet. And it's a magnet and it's a loophole that the drug cartels and the drug mules will use against us and have used against us in the past. This is not about race or a lot of other things that the left wants to bring up. It's a national security problem among other problems. I don't think it's unreasonable to want to put troops on the border to help secure the border. I don't think it's unreasonable for any country to want to secure their borders. It seems to be only controversial in this country. Lots of other countries do it, and it doesn't seem to be that big of a problem.
It's the old story of if you want to have a good argument for against leaving everything open, is you say to somebody, do you lock your house at night? Why? If anybody can come in over our borders, why can't anybody come into your house that wants to?
Right.
And eat your food?
Yeah, exactly right. Now, before we go to break, I want to play one more piece of audio. Homeland Security Secretary Christian Nielsen, she was on Fox and Friends this morning, and she brought up another point, which is exactly what Daniel Horowitz was saying in that Conservative Review article, exactly a point I've been making on why we have to secure our border. There's been a problem, an increasing problem once again, of illegal immigrants trying to enter this country. This is what she said.
I think the most frustrating, it would be hard to pick just one, but let me pick two. The two most frustrating, we have men and women in the Border Patrol that have been part of protecting our border for decades, well before 9/11, well before the Homeland Security Department was created. These men and women have done assessments after assessments over the year. They understand the flows, the traffic patterns, the danger, and what works in terms of impedance and denial. So I was very disappointed that Congress chose, rather than listening to the experts, to tell us and tell the experts where and how we can build the wall. To me, that's not their job. It's the job of the operators who live and breathe that every day in conjunction with the local communities. So that would be my first. My second is bed space. I mean, we all know the only way to enforce immigration law is once I interdict somebody, I can remove them. And if I can't do that, I need to be able to detain them until I can remove that. And if I can't do that, we no longer have border security. So given the numbers we had last month, they just came out, 50,000 in April is the number that we interdicted or otherwise was inadmissible. That is a 200% increase from March of 2017. This crisis is real. There are many more people coming to take advantage of these loopholes and are being trained by the smugglers.
Well, that's
Wow. A 200% increase in the last year. And she makes the point right there that the drug smugglers, the drug cartels, are using this. They are using this. They are using these loopholes to try to get drugs across the country. Just a side note, by the way, the National Border Patrol Council, the agents union, conducted a survey of more than 600 agents into the busiest border sectors. A whopping 89% of these border agents surveyed said a wall system in strategic locations is necessary to securing the border. I think the border agents would know what they're talking about. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We'll be right back.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. Your safe space for conservative thought, not for political correctness. Yaffe is back right now.
So we've been talking about immigration. We've been talking about securing the border. And, of course, Congress has not agreed, surprisingly, to come up with the funds to build the wall, which I think we should build the wall. And, in fact, border agents themselves want to build the wall. I don't think it's unreasonable for a country to want to secure their borders, especially when the country to the south of us is Mexico that is funneling a lot of drugs and a lot of crime across that border. These are just facts. And we should be able to protect ourselves from that. Let's take a call here. Our buddy Steve in Melbourne, who calls a lot. I'm sure he's going to rant at me, so let's take his call. Here he goes, Steve. You were on.
Rant at you. I have a little constructive criticism. It's called add illegal immigration.
Okay, illegal immigration.
Right, there we go. Little Wolfie Blitzer or Jakey Tapwater, little doughboy Brian Skelter. I don't want, and this is what you guys need to do also. Throw your TV in the trash. Don't watch TV. Don't read the AP or Reuters or Washington, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, Compost, or the New York Slimes. Don't waste your time with that crap.
If it makes you feel any better, I really don't watch a lot of cable news.
Yeah, same here. Like I said, throw your TV in the trash. America,
but
throw your TV in the trash.
I can't watch movies anymore?
No, you know what I mean when I'm saying throw your TV in the trash.
I'm just kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, I'm not a snowflake. I can handle it, and you guys too.
Here is the thing, though. When you talk about...
These politicians are complicit, like Governor Moonbeam, the sanctuary state of California, that Oakland mayor. You know what you do? Here's a couple pink zip ties. You have two choices, dos choices. Numero uno, put them on yourself. Numero dos, we're going to do it for you. I'm serious. It's come to this point where these politicians on both sides, like the Gobber, Mitch McConnell, is complicit. And I'm sorry to say,
a lot of them
Paul
are.
Ryan is complicit because of the Chamber of Commerce. But these people need to be held accountable. Illegal immigration. You see MS-13 gangbangers up in Maryland.
Here's the thing, Steve.
Guatemala.
Hey, Steve, here's the thing. I wanted to bring this up. I have heard arguments that, yes, when a lot of people are crossing the border, it's illegal immigration when they're coming from Mexico. But when they come from Central America and they claim refugee status, technically that would not be illegal. What do you think about that?
Cookies. You sound like Glenn. This is what sugar cookies. Let's hand out teddy bears and 6X underwear. Sugar cookies.
I mean, I don't want them. I don't want them here. I would want to stop them at the border.
But this is this so-called caravan.
Sugar cookies.
Just like in what's happening in Israel on the Gaza Strip, funded by George Soros, Code Pink, Bill Ayers.
Yeah, George Soros is definitely...
Dorn. Wake up, America. This is not some, come. And they have demands. Open borders. It's not laughable. And I said to you guys, great job. That party on the left, they are socialist. Open borders, high taxes, welfare country.
Well, and frankly, they hate this country, too. A lot of them hate this country. But the reason why I was bringing that up, and I didn't say illegal as much, is because technically there's a loophole in the law. The law needs to change, is my point. Mm-hmm. There's a loophole in the law. I didn't create the law. I don't like the law. But a lot of times when they come from Central America, they claim refugee status or what's the other status called, Tom Benson? I'm having a brain fart when you come from like a persecuted country.
Political asylum?
Yeah, asylum. They claim asylum or refugee status. And technically, if they get over the border, a lot of them are allowed to do that. It's a loophole in the law, and it's a real problem. And that's why I was bringing it up. We need to change the law. Not that I want to bring them all in here. You can't have open borders. You just can't there's 10 billion people in the country. Billions of them, I'm sure, would love to be able to come to America. You can't just let them all in. You just can't. It doesn't work that way. All right, 407-916-5400, text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We'll be right back.
If you heart Beyond Reason Radio, listen to the Beyond Reason Radio podcast on iHeartRadio. Just download the iHeartRadio app and search Beyond Reason Radio. The place where we talk faith, culture, and politics. Beyond Reason Radio continues.
So I ran across a headline that you don't see every day, and I'll just share it with you, Tom Benson. You're definitely gonna want to listen to all of this because I'm gonna get to a point here. It's about something I talked about weeks ago on the show, and you were here.
Okay,
but the headline is this: author says Trump lies all the time, but still is a great president.
Okay.
It's like I said, it's not something you hear all the time. The author is Ronald Kessler. He's the author of the new book, The Trump White House, Changing the Rules of the Game.
Mm-hmm. That he is doing, no doubt about that.
He makes a point in this book, and he makes a point. He was on a podcast early this week, and he's been writing that Trump probably does lie all the time, but so have past presidents. And just because past presidents have lied, some of them have done a lot of great things. And Trump, even though he kind of lies a lot, he's still getting a lot of great things done. Okay? Well, whatever you think about that, whatever. That's actually not what caught my attention about this whole discussion. What I find really interesting is something else he said in the interview, Ronald Kessler. And this is according to ABC News where I found it. Kessler labeled counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, as the wholesale leaker.
I heard this.
In the administration. A charge Conway has denied in interviews in recent days. Here's where it gets really interesting. Kessler also alleges the president himself regularly leaks information to reporters.
That I'm not surprised about.
In an effort to keep people guessing about the sources of leaks. Kessler says when you leak on yourself, it doesn't set a good example. Is this not exactly what I said a couple weeks ago?
You did indeed.
I believe this, by the way, when all of this was brought up, I said, because we were talking about the chaos in the Trump White House, about how all these leaks were going on, even though Steve Bannon is gone, he was apparently the leaker. There's still all these leaks, and I said Trump likes the chaos because it gets him attention, and it makes him think he's kind of in control. So he feeds off the fear and the chaos, and it makes him think that he's a man of action, getting things done. And I said that I would not be surprised, and I believe that Trump is probably directly responsible for a lot of these leaks.
So when he comes out and immediately labels something as fake news, we can assume then that he was the leaker of the story to begin with, because he knows.
And I don't think he's leaking all of this. And in fact, I bet you what's really happening is he's talking to Kellyanne Conway. And I don't think he's necessarily calling the reporters himself and leaking it. But I think he tells Kellyanne and others, go leak this to this outlet. Go leak this to this outlet. I would not be surprised if that's happening.
With all the changes that have occurred at the White House and apparently will continue to occur, I've often wondered how come Conway is still there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe this is why.
And you never hear she's on her way out type stuff either.
Nope. Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, she's backed by the Mercers, who are a pretty powerful family.
Okay.
But I think it's completely possible because Trump likes the chaos. That's how he is. That's how he was on reality TV. It's how he ran his business for years. He likes this. He thinks it's good. It's action. Puts all the attention on himself. I would not be surprised at all if he said, Kelly, go ahead and leak this. We need to get this attention. This will get us a bunch of attention. And then they come out, no, fake news. Nope. I'm telling you.
Nothing here. Keep on moving.
I'm telling you that this is, I would not be surprised at all. That's the second article that I've seen. I mean, I talked on an article a couple weeks ago where they were saying how Trump's enjoying all this talk about the turnover in his administration. He just loves it. He loves the attention. This is why I always found it shocking when the media would attack him. They would act like he was going to shut down the media or something. You're like, oh, he's an authoritarian that's going to shut down all these media outlets and yada, yada, yada. I said, are you all nuts? He loves this.
He loves the attention.
I have never seen a president. Nobody's ever seen a president.
Make your headlines bigger.
But he's always talking. For someone who hates the media and the media hates him, he gives them all kinds of access. More access I've ever seen. He talks interviews, recorded over the phone, recorded interviews on TV. He stops on his way to an event and takes questions and brings them all in for meetings. And for all of this talk that he's going to somehow shut down the media like some type of authoritarian, I think it's all crazy. He loves this stuff. He loves it. He loves the attention. And more evidence of that. All right. The next thing I want to get to, another Trump thing. No, I told you this hour is going to be like dominated by Trump. Is this whole Amazon-Trump feud. I want to get to some of the facts on that, and I really don't like what Trump is doing here. Not necessarily for the reason you might think, but we'll get to that in a moment. And we'll take your calls as well. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We'll be right back.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffe on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio. Your voice of truth in a world of fake news. Beyond Reason Radio continues right now.
Yes, welcome back to the show, everyone. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We are on until 10 p.m. tonight, right here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. But if you miss any of the show, you can always catch the podcast anywhere the podcasts are available after the show as well. We're on Facebook Live as well. Make sure to like the Beyond Reason Radio Facebook page. You can also send me a friend request, Michael Yaffe, and I will accept it on Facebook, or you can follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. And Tom Benson, is producing today. He is still awake.
I am.
So that means I'm doing my job.
Absolutely.
I'm making it very interesting.
Yeah.
He's had a very long day, so he needs his beauty sleep. But he decided to stay.
You say beauty sleep, I'll be asleep forever.
Right. Okay, so this has been kind of the hour of Trump. I don't always do that, but he's been in the news a lot. So he is, one thing he's been making news, one way he's been making news is he's been going after Amazon lately, going after Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
Here are some of his tweets on Amazon recently. He tweeted this out. He said, I am right about Amazon costing the United States Post Office massive amounts of money for being their delivery boy. Amazon should pay these costs plus and not have them borne by the American taxpayer. Many billions of dollars. Post Office leaders don't have a clue, or do they? And he also tweeted this out. Only fools, or worse, are saying that our money-losing post office makes money with Amazon. They lose a fortune, and this will be changed. Also, our fully tax-paying retailers are closing stores all over the country, not a level playing field. So he's been going after Amazon. One, he says they don't pay sales taxes. And two, he's upset because he says the post office is losing a ton of money off of their shipping. Well, this is just not true. The fact is, this is just not true. For one, Amazon does pay sales taxes on their products. Now, some of their third-party vendors don't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not necessarily something Amazon can completely control. But they pay sales taxes on all the states that have sales taxes. They do now. Also, it's been debunked over and over again that Amazon is charged bulk rates because they ship a lot of packages through the post office.
That they do.
They're charged bulk rates just like any other company is charged. There is no evidence that Amazon gets some kind of special deal because they are charged these bulk rates. They get the same deals that any other big company would get being charged these bulk rates.
So if we're losing some money on Amazon, we're also losing money on the other shippers.
Well, the post office has been losing money forever.
Well,
way before Amazon.
I think ever since Ben Franklin retired as postmaster, I think you're right.
So there's a couple things that bother me about Trump's tweet. One, he keeps talking about quote-unquote level playing fields. He wants more government intervention to make these quote-unquote level playing fields.
Mm.
It always kind of worries me when you want this giant more government intervention. Also, he seems to be siding with a big government organization, the post office, which has not been run right for years, which has been, like you said, it's been losing money for years. He's siding with them over a private company like Amazon. That's also concerning to me. But when you look at the facts as well, it looks like that Amazon might actually be helping the post office business, believe it or not. Trump is complaining that they're losing tons of money. Who knows where the post office would be if it weren't for Amazon? Just look at this. The number of packages delivered by the post office has gone up by a lot. 5.7 billion packages last year. That's up from 3.3 billion in 2008.
And they now make deliveries on Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, and they added service Sundays just for Amazon. Why do you think they did that? They added Sunday deliveries for Amazon because Amazon is helping to make a ton of money. They're up 2 billion packages a year. That is because of Amazon, and that is because of e-commerce. But, I mean, we all really know why Trump is doing this, right?
We do indeed.
Do we really think Trump cares if the post office is losing money to Amazon?
No, I don't think so.
Do we really think that he believes that Amazon is ripping off the post office?
No, I don't think he really cares.
He's doing this because he doesn't like the Washington Post. The Washington Post, and yes, this is kind of understandable. The Washington Post has definitely been pretty harsh on Trump since he's been president, probably harsher than a lot of the other newspapers. And Bezos, who owns Amazon, also owns the Washington Post, and Trump is going after them because he doesn't like the Washington Post. That's it. That's all. He's bullying them because of that. It has nothing to do with any of this other stuff. All this stuff that Amazon does, they're just doing it to try to better their business. I guarantee you Trump does similar things or did similar things with his business. I guarantee you he did similar things with his business that Amazon is doing. This is ridiculous. This is just a feud he has with Amazon. You know, I actually agree with a tweet by Eric Erickson. Eric Erickson said this. He tweeted this out. He said, self-described conservatives okay with the president bullying a private company over its domestic business contracts are another reminder that many self-described conservatives are not conservative. It's exactly right. The reason why it should make any conservative very uncomfortable that you have the president of the United States bullying a private company and then siding with the giant government, inefficient government-run organization, which is the post office. I'm not saying Amazon is perfect in everything. There's no doubt Bezos is a liberal. There's no doubt the Washington Post is pretty liberal. There's no doubt that Amazon probably does things they shouldn't do. I mean, somehow they didn't pay any corporate income taxes in the U.S. last year. How does that happen? That to me is a little, makes me wonder. But this whole idea that the Amazon is out there screwing the post office when the post office is getting a ton more business because of Amazon just doesn't make any sense to me. In fact, if you have a problem with what's going on here, don't go after Amazon. Amazon is just taking the deal. Go after the post office. If you have a problem with how the post office runs the business, you're the president of the United States, go through Congress and change how the post office does this.
And change that tax loophole.
Yeah, exactly. Change the loop. Well, I don't know what tax loophole you're talking about.
Well, the one that makes them.
Oh, the sales tax.
Yeah, not to pay any corporate tax.
Oh yeah. Change the tax loophole. Is that which a lot of maybe this new tax law actually did? I'm not sure, but especially with the post office thing, I just can't be mad at Amazon because they're just going after the bulk rate that a lot of businesses get. And the post office seems to be benefiting from it. Otherwise, they wouldn't add services on Sunday and they wouldn't be delivering all these other packages. I think the post office is probably pretty happy with what Amazon is doing. But the post office still continues to lose money. Why? Even though they're not losing as much as they used to. The revenues actually have gone up and the debt has actually decreased. A lot of that probably has to do with Amazon.
There was a Harris poll that came out beginning of this week that stated basically that Amazon is the most trusted brand in the U.S.
Really? Trusted brand? I mean, eventually, and be careful what you wish for, Trump, because eventually Amazon's going to stop using the post office altogether. They're going to have their own shipping. They're already kind of doing this, but they're just going to bypass the post office eventually and do all their shipping themselves. And then the post office is going to be screwed. They're going to lose all that business that they were getting from Amazon.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do? And then is Trump going to tweet out and is he going to go, Amazon's screwing us because they're not using us anymore? It's absolutely ridiculous. I get very uncomfortable when the President of the United States uses his bully pulpit as the head of the government to go after an individual private business. And the only reason he's doing this is for political reasons. Any conservative, anybody who believes in limited government, small government, should be a little concerned about that. I know we all want to back Trump in this. We all want to support Trump in this because we don't like the Washington Post and we don't like Bezos. But a lot of us benefit from Amazon on a daily basis. Amazon is a pretty good business for the most part. And to act like just because they're benefiting from what the post office is offering and actually probably helping the post office, it's hard for me to believe that I should be completely mad at Amazon. And by the way, Trump talked about the retailers. All the retailers are losing, all the brick and mortar stores are losing business to Amazon. Does anyone honestly believe that these brick and mortar stores are losing business to Amazon because of some deal they have with the post office? That's absurd. The reason why they're losing business to Amazon is because Amazon is much more convenient. It's the new technology involved in Amazon that makes shopping with them a lot more convenient than shopping at a brick and mortar store. It's competitive advantage. It's a new business model that's working for them. And yes, it's putting some of the brick and mortars out of business, but it has nothing to do with the post office. It's ridiculous. All right. Glad I got that off my chest. We'll move on to some other stuff. Not everything has to be about Trump, and we'll do that in the next hour. Actually, there's a couple of stories I want to get to in the next hour that I think are the most overblown stories in a while, and we'll get to that. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. One more hour to go. We'll be right back. I look inside of myself. Yes, believe it or not, Beyond Reason Radio is back on the air. Woo-woo! Back on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. We just did 1 hour, but if you missed that hour, I'll post the podcast later. But we have 1 more hour to go and a lot more to talk about. And Tom Benson is still awake in there producing tonight.
I am. It's been a good show so far, I think.
Good. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff we haven't got to, and we're just going to get straight to it. I'm Michael Yaffe. If you want to call or comment, you can call 407-916-5400, or you can text to 23680, where standard message and data rates apply. So this is something I actually disagreed with Bud on in the morning show. But this is something that I have felt is one of the most overblown stories that has been talked about in a while. This whole thing with Sinclair, Sinclair Broadcasting, and how they've put out this bias, they've forced their anchors to do this biased coverage or bias.
They call them a must-run positioning statement, if you will.
And everyone has been outraged. In fact, a guy by the name of Justin Simmons, who was a producer at a Sinclair-owned station in Nebraska, KHGI-TV, he actually talked on CNN about he's actually resigning from it because he's upset with what Sinclair's been doing ever since they bought this station. Here's what he said.
No, they were entirely national, and they did have a conservative slant. And don't get me wrong, I have no problem with conservative slanted news or liberal slanted news, but own it. The problem with what Sinclair does is they co-opt the credibility that local anchors have built up in their communities over years and decades. And as someone who grew up in the local news business, my mom was an anchor in Tucson, Arizona for 30 years. And I imagined if she had been forced to do something like that when I was a kid and forced to make a decision about her ethics versus feeding her family and keeping a job in a business that she loved, I couldn't imagine doing it. And so my heart goes out to all of those anchors who were forced to basically do it's the equivalent of a proof of life hostage video.
Okay. Now, the problem with this is I haven't really seen any real evidence of this. And there's the one thing. Now, if there was something that was out that Sinclair was making him say that was so biased towards Trump, was so saying, oh, we have to support Trump or yada, 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 or so biased to conservatives, and they were forcing their anchors to say this, I would have a problem with this. But I haven't, at least what the video that started all this controversy and the so-called statement that the anchors were forced to say across the country that started all this controversy, I really didn't see what the big deal was.
I didn't either.
Thank you, Tom Benson. I'm glad you agree with me on this.
And I'll tell you exactly how that all could be avoided if Sinclair had just thought it through a little bit.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a sec, but why don't we play some audio? This all started when Deadspin, the website Deadspin, put out a video of a bunch of Sinclair anchors saying the same thing. Here's some of that.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish the same story without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Okay. So everyone's upset and said this is propaganda. This is pro-Trump,
including
propaganda.
Dan Rather. I mean, here's a guy who knows all about bias.
I know. Everyone's saying this is pro-Trump propaganda. This is outrageous. Sinclair, what are they doing? Now, I would understand the outrage if this was obviously pro-Trump. But when you read the script and you listen to what they said, there's nothing in it that's pro-Trump or anti-Trump. There's nothing in it that's really political.
That's right.
I saw it as mainly just kind of like a mission statement.
Exactly.
A mission statement brought down by the company. And by the way, people are upset, well, the anchors are reading a script. They're forced to read a script. They're anchors. Anchors always read scripts.
There is not one piece of information put out on any of the networks that isn't approved and scripted by somebody else.
They are constantly reading a teleprompter. They are constantly reading a script.
And if you're an NBC affiliate, for example, you get must runs from then. You must run the Tonight Show. You must run the evening news. You must run this. You must run that.
This whole
you don't get a choice.
I work for iHeartMedia. We have to run promos for the iHeartRadio app. Oh, is this propaganda? How could they force it? No, we work for the company. We are representing our brand. That's what we do. It's not propaganda. Now, if they were coming out and saying you have to say why you have to support Trump, that would be different. If the anchors had to say why they love Trump, that would be completely different. But that's not what they were saying.
Yeah. My position was if you don't like what the company wants you to do, you quit.
Yeah, just like that one guy did.
Now, they say people are not quitting because there's contractual obligations. They must remain off the air for 6 months or so before they even get to another TV station. So when I hear that, I'm told, I think to myself, oh, so you're saying journalistic ethics has a price.
Well, okay. But here's that's exactly right. Why don't we read the whole script?
Okay.
Well, let's just read the whole script and see what's so controversial. Because when I'm actually reading the script, I'm thinking this is not a big deal. I don't get it. Okay, so here's the script that they were put out by the anchors to read. Hi, I'm Anchor A. We'll say I'm Bob, and I'm Susie Anchor. Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Northwest communities. We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that so-called news produces. Here put KOMO was one of them.
Okay.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country. The sharing of bias and false news has become all too common on social media. Stop right there. Is that not true? Is that really both sides have been complaining about false news on social media?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking in biased news.
And it shows up
both sides.
And it shows up in survey after survey by the polling companies. People believe there is biased fake news out there.
Yeah. It didn't say where the fake news was coming from. It didn't say, it's coming from the New York Times and the Washington Post.
CNN, yeah.
It's just saying people are upset about all the bias and false news that's out on social media. This is true. It's fact. Okay, it continues on in the script. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories that just aren't true without checking facts first. That happens. There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to democracy.
Thank you, CNN.
I mean, there's no doubt that this happens, okay? But here's where a lot of it cuts off. Deadspin didn't really report. All these people weren't reporting the rest of what was said in the script.
Mm-hmm.
At KOMO, it is our responsibility to pursue the truth. We understand truth is neither politically left nor right. Our commitment to factual reporting is the foundation of our credibility now more than ever. What's the problem here? So they're basically saying our company has a responsibility to report factual news. So controversial. It's not controversial. I believe that's what journalists should want to do. And the company is just saying, hey, we want to put out this message.
Yeah.
That's not the rest of it, by the way. But we are human. It continues on in the script. But we are human, and sometimes our reporting might fall short. If you believe our coverage is unfair, please reach out to us by going to whichever the website is, the local website, and clicking on content concerns. We value your comments. We will respond back to you. We work very hard to seek the truth and strive to be fair, balanced, and factual. We consider it our honor, our privilege to responsibly deliver the news every day. Thank you for watching, and we appreciate your feedback. What is so controversial? So basically, Sinclair says this. We want you to say this because our company believes that we should report factual news.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You as a journalist, as an anchor, should believe that, right? Yeah, doesn't seem very controversial. So we're also going to start this program where people can comment and send feedback if they think you got it wrong. That's a program we at Sinclair are starting, and we want your local news affiliate to do it because we think it would be better for our brand. Okay. Sounds good to me. What is so controversial about a company saying we want to report factual news because there's a lot of fake news out there, and if we get it wrong, we'll give you a chance to have feedback? Nothing about Trump. It actually says in the script, what does it say? Where did it say it in the script here? It said, we understand truth is neither politically left nor right. So it's not political. It's not one side or the other. They're saying truth is neither.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a company that puts out a statement and has their anchors put out a statement who always read scripts that they believe in factual news, that they believe the truth is beyond politics, and that they believe if they get it wrong, people should be able to give their feedback.
Well, the story behind the story is Sinclair wants to buy the Tribune TV stations, which would give them further access to TV households in all the major markets. That's what the real beef is all about.
Of course it is.
This is just a sideshow.
This is nothing.
Here is what Sinclair should have done. Back in the day, editorials on TV stations and radio stations were usually read by the general manager. They should have been kicked up to somebody upstairs. A general manager or a news director should have given the announcement.
Okay.
That's it.
I mean, that's fine. I don't even think... I mean, that's fine. That might have been better. I think they would have still complained because Deadspin would have still put all of the news directors saying the same things. I just don't see what's so controversial. When you actually read what they were saying, it's just, our company believes in reporting factual news, and we have a program for you to give your feedback. Thank you. Look, this is Trump propaganda. Trump propaganda? It's their company saying we want to report factual news. It is the most overblown story of the year, in my opinion. The most overblown, overreacted story that I just don't understand. I don't see what the big deal is. Just because they were all saying the same thing, they're anchors, they read a script, so? And then you say, well, what if those anchors don't believe in that? Their anchors don't believe that their news company shouldn't report factual news? They shouldn't believe that?
It would have... It would have been the same thing if you took a piece of AP copy that was read by 20 different TV stations and looped it all together.
It's not. It's actually not even that bad, because it's just. I just don't. I don't get. Somebody please tell me what the problem is here, because I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get what the big deal is. When you read the whole statement and you put it in context, I don't understand what the problem is. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. So there's another story out there that also I think is one of the most overblown things that I've seen since I've been off the air. It was something that was completely blown out of proportion, of course, over politics. By the way, the Sinclair thing, the only reason people care is because Sinclair, I guess, has a connection to Trump somehow. Mm-hmm. The owners are more conservative. They have some kind of connection to Trump, so it must be nefarious. They don't care what the actual statement said or the context of it or the idea of it. They don't care about it. Oh, it's Trump, so it must be pro-Trump propaganda. That's absurd. But there's another story out there that's same thing. It was something that was totally blown out of proportion, and it's all because of politics. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We'll be right back.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com. This is Orlando's Smart Talk Radio. Beyond Reason Radio continues now.
Okay, so in the last segment, I talked about what I think was the most overblown story of the year so far. And there's been a lot of those. That's all we do now is we blow things out of proportion. That is what America does in 2018. But I talked about how the whole Sinclair thing and how everyone was upset the anchors had to read a script. It was totally overblown because the script wasn't that big of a deal. It was just them basically putting out a company mission statement that was, I thought, pretty reasonable. But this other thing really was totally overblown, I think. And by people I know. And I haven't had a chance to talk about it since I've been gone, but it's good to see Fox News is standing up behind Laura Ingraham. David Hogg, one of the students in Parkland who's become a gun control activist, one of the most loud-spoken gun control activists of the Parkland students, he tried to start a boycott against Laura Ingraham. He put it out on Twitter to start a boycott and then started listing the companies that advertise on her show. Mm-hmm. By the way, I heard that company MyPillow was like, nope, we're not boycotting. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Because it is stupid.
It is. Waste of time.
So it's trying to start a boycott against her for a tweet she put out about him. Fox News released this statement on it. We cannot and will not allow voices to be censored by agenda-driven intimidation efforts. It's exactly what it was. That's what Jack Abernathy, co-president of 21st Century Fox-owned cable outlet, said in a statement. We look forward to having Laura Ingraham back hosting her program next Monday when she returns from spring vacation with her children. A lot of people thought, oh, that means she's fired. She's on vacation. What was this tweet that was so bad that makes Laura Ingraham deserve the guillotine? Deserve, death? Here it is. This is all it said. David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges to which he applied and whines about it. Dinged by UCLA with a 4.1 GPA, totally predictable given acceptance rates. Now, all this was in response to Hogg when he was interviewed on TMZ. I actually have the audio here. David Hogg on TMZ talking about how he can't get into these colleges. Here it is.
It's not been too great for me and some of the other members of the movement, like Ryan Deitch. We got rejected from we got rejected from UCLA, and I got rejected from UCLA and UCSD. So it's been kind of annoying having to deal with that and everything else that's been going on. But at this point, I was, we're changing the world. We're too busy. Right now, it's too hard to focus on that. It is absolutely disappointing. But at this point, we're already changing the world. If colleges want to support us in that, great. If they don't, it doesn't matter. We're still going to change the world.
So I will say this. Well, let me read Laura Ingram's tweet again. This is the tweet that deserves her to be boycotted and thrown off the air. Of all the things in Twitter, this is the tweet that should get someone thrown off the air. David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges to which he applied and whines about it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most horrible thing someone said, that we have to throw her off the air. Now, I will say this. David Hogg wasn't really necessarily whining there too much. He did imply, though, that the colleges were not accepting him or they were not joining his movement at the end there.
Right.
So you could say maybe he was whining a little bit about it or complaining about it.
And I'm guessing, and this is just a guess, the colleges don't want the sideshow that would come from him being a student there. Just like certain football teams didn't want to have Tim Tebow on their squads because, regardless of whether he can play the game or not, they didn't want the circus, the sideshow, come and follow him everywhere.
I'm not sure I agree with you on that just because I'm almost positive he probably put in his applications before any of this started. So they probably didn't even know about it.
Correct. But
and the other thing is these colleges are pretty left wing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they might want the sideshow. They might want him there because they're so left wing. I don't know. But I see what you're saying. But I think most likely I didn't see his SAT score, but I remember reading that it was a little below average what those colleges accept. It was a good SAT score. He's got a good GPA. He's a smart kid. But he didn't get into some colleges. It happens. It happens to the best of us. But to all of a sudden start a boycott.
Yeah.
Because Laura Ingraham said, stop whining. You'll get into a good school. Basically says, stop whining. And how dare you tell me to stop whining? You should be kicked off the air. What? Really? Now, people are saying, well, he was a victim of a tragedy and yada, yada, yada. This is true. He had to go through something pretty bad. Pretty awful. But he has been out there now as a public figure saying some pretty nasty things about people who don't agree with him.
And about grown-ups.
About grown-ups, about other people. Saying some pretty nasty things about people. When you're out there and you can't just be out there as a public figure saying all these things, pushing forward a political agenda, saying nasty things about other people, and then saying, when someone criticizes you, says, oh, how dare you criticize me? I'm a victim.
Exactly.
No, it doesn't work that way. That's not what's happening here. You are now a political activist, and your points of view should be criticized. Now, some might say, well, she went after him personally, and, you can criticize what he says and not go after him personally. Maybe. I don't know if I would have tweeted this, but really, I yawn when I read this tweet. David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges to which he applied and whines about it. That is so innocuous. It's so nothing that to boycott, to all of a sudden say because David Hogg got that's David Hogg some kind of victim now, and that Laura Ingraham should be put off the air and all of our advertisers should boycott because Laura Ingram's such a horrible person because she said stop whining? Really?
Well, this is another George Soros-backed effort.
Of course. This is Media Matters playbook. Media
Correct.
Matters did this to
and
Bill O'Reilly. This is their playbook. They've been they try to do it to Hannity. They've been doing this for years. David Hogg, he's a good leftist. He knows exactly how the leftists work. He has obviously been following their playbook for a while and knows exactly how to do this. Now, Laura Ingraham actually apologized for this, which...
Yeah, but...
I really didn't think was necessary because I didn't think the original tweet was that big of a deal.
Yeah.
This is what Laura Ingraham said. Any student should be proud of a 4.2 GPA, including David Hogg. On reflection, in the spirit of Holy Week, I apologize for any upset or hurt my tweet caused him or any of the brave victims of Parkland. Unbelievable. For one, the whole reason why this is happening, the whole reason why David Hogg called for a boycott, the whole reason why they all called for a boycott is not because of what Laura Ingraham tweeted, because any reasonable person will realize that Laura Ingram's tweet was not that big of a deal. The reason why they called for the boycott is because they disagree with Laura Ingram's politics, and they want to shut down her political speech. That's why. They disagree with her politics. It's the only reason why they did this. So that's it. The only reason they're going after Laura Ingraham is because they disagree with her politics. And frankly, I think this is dangerous because we shouldn't. For one, I don't like these boycotts. When I watch a show and advertising comes on in the middle of a show, I don't even necessarily connect the advertiser with that show. Only now, if the talent's endorsing the product, that's different. But I don't connect the advertiser to the show. I don't think these advertisers should be doing that. But I don't think we should be shutting down speech just because we disagree with it politically. I just think that's dangerous, and that's going to come to bite the left back eventually, because the right's going to pick up that tactic and they're going to start boycotting advertisers on a leftist show, and then we're not going to be able to have these debates that we should be having. We're not going to have these political opinions that I think are important for the debate in this country. Shutting down speech because you disagree with it politically, and that's what this was all about. Trust me when I tell you this, that's what this was all about. It's happened before, and it's going to happen again. Let's take a call here. Let's go to Mud, is it?
That's right, in Lake Mary.
Mud in Lake Mary. All right, Mud in Lake Mary. Welcome to the show.
I said that because he recognized my voice because I've called in before. I had just wanted to make a comment about, I'll call him David Hogg, and Laura Ingraham, that situation. She did not attack him personally.
Not really.
Basically, what she said was, to me, something I would have said to my own daughter had she made, and I'll use the term, whined about not getting into some colleges. Life is all about rejection and disappointment sometimes, and unfortunately, it appears as though sometimes this generation doesn't get that everything should be smooth and go their way. I think it would be very helpful to him to understand, to him and to this generation, understand that there are rejections and there are disappointments and differing opinions about things, and you can't just strong-arm your way and try to bully your way through everything. And I firmly believe what he did in terms of trying to shut down the advertisers and collate or get a coalition of people to join is going to be very helpful to Republicans, to Americans in their decisions about voting, because nobody's liking the strong-arm tactics. And this is
I hope you're right.
Strong-arm as it gets.
I hope you're right, and I appreciate your call, Mud. I hope you're right, because he is bullying her. I mean, this. If a leftist, let's say Don Lemon said something like that, do you think David Hogg would have called for a boycott of Don Lemon? No. The only reason why this picked up any steam is because Laura Ingraham is a conservative, and she's a pro-Second Amendment conservative, and they want to shut her down because they disagree with her politics. I think this is a dangerous precedent we keep setting when we're trying to shut down someone else's speech because we disagree with their politics. I just don't think that's right. I would never call for a boycott of, let's say, Rachel Maddow or Jimmy Kimmel, of their advertisers. I don't think it's fair to their advertisers. And if people want to watch it, I disagree with it. I disagree with what they say. But if people want to watch it, that's their choice. That's their freedom. People can have different political opinions. We shouldn't try to shut it down. You want to go against a political opinion? Then debate it. Then go against it with more speech. Don't try to shut it down. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We'll be right back.
Download the iHeart Radio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast. The voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason is back now.
So in the last segment, by the way, I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. This is Beyond Reason Radio. We've been on since 8 p.m. We're on until 10 p.m. right here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. If you miss any of the show, catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are available after the show. In the last segment, we were talking about the whole debate between Laura Ingraham and David Hogg, how they were calling for a boycott against Laura Ingraham. It didn't work, and it won't work. Now, David Hogg has been prominent because he is a student at Parkland, or was a student at Parkland, and they had that shooting there, and he was there during the shooting, and he became an activist for gun control. Well, I want to talk about the Second Amendment then and talk about guns, because there's something interesting I've noticed in the gun control debate. I've noticed there are two ways the left has been debating this issue. One way is to try to reinterpret the Second Amendment. They try to claim that the founders would not have wanted everyone to have a gun, but that it was just for militias. It's what I hear all the time. Well, it's just for a well-regulated militia. They didn't want, like, individuals to have guns to be able to protect themselves, just for militias. Well, I found this piece from Justin Haskins from The Blaze, and it really does a good job because it goes over the words of the founders themselves on this issue that totally debunks that claim. For one, Thomas Jefferson. There's a big one right there. He was influential in the creating of this country and the Bill of Rights. Thomas Jefferson, writing to William S. Smith in Paris, explained his view in crystal clear terms, writing this: "What country can preserve its liberties if their rulers are not warned from time to time that their people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms." This goes back to the point that the founders believed that an armed citizenry was a deterrent against tyranny. A deterrent, that's exactly what was said here, basically, against tyranny. And the people had to have guns. Another person, in Noah Webster's important examination of the leading principles of the federal Constitution, which he authored in 1787, this is what Noah Webster wrote: "Before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed, as they are in almost every kingdom in Europe. The supreme power in America cannot enforce unjust laws by the sword, because the whole body of the people are armed, and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops that can be, on any pretense, raised in the United States. A military force at the command of Congress can execute no laws, but such as the people perceive to be just and constitutional. For they will possess the power, and jealousy will instantly inspire the inclination to resist the execution of a law which appears to them unjust and oppressive." He was making the same point Thomas Jefferson was making, that the people must be armed, that it was in the Constitution for this purpose, to be a deterrent against tyranny. Samuel Adams, also during Massachusetts Constitution Ratification Convention in 1788. This is what he said: "The said Constitution will never be construed to authorize Congress to infringe the just liberty of the press, the right of conscience, or to prevent the people of the United States who are peaceable citizens from keeping their own arms." And that was Sam Adams, and he was saying the people need to keep their own arms. That's including individuals. In the 18th century, this is more from Justin Haskins and The Blaze. He says, in the 18th century, militias were not like the modern-day National Guard. They were much more comparable to today's small-town volunteer fire departments. In times of distress, individual members of the community would gather together to defend their towns, bringing their own arms with them. This is incredibly important to understand. In the 18th century, militias were composed of individuals from the community who owned their own guns. Without individual gun ownership, militias could never have existed. That proves Stevens' argument about militias is totally false. Now, when he says that, he's talking about former Supreme Court Justice Stevens, who I talked about when I hosted on the morning show, was saying, oh, the militia thing's archaic, and he wants to repeal the Second Amendment. Oh, there's more to this, though. In 1788, at Virginia's Constitution Ratification Convention, George Mason stated plainly this: "I ask, who are the militia? They consist now of the whole people except a few public officers." Also in 1788, Virginia's Richard Henry Lee wrote, "A militia, when properly formed, are in fact the people themselves, and include all men capable of bearing arms. To preserve liberty, it is essential that the whole body of people always possess arms." They actually believed that it was essential for people to have guns. Not only that they had a right to them, but that it was essential for them to have them. In 1787, James Madison, the father of the Constitution, said, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. A well-regulated militia composed of the body of people trained to arms is the best and most natural defense of a free country." When you read the words of the founders, when you understand the history, you will understand that the Second Amendment was never meant to be restricted to, say, the National Guard or something. That the founders wholly intended that individuals in the country be able to own guns. Not only for their own personal liberty, which was a part of it, they believed that in order for individuals to have liberty, they must have the freedom to be able to defend themselves. But they also believed that individuals in the country should have arms as a deterrent against tyranny from an overbearing government.
But, Yaffe, you forget one important point.
Yes.
Our founding fathers never could have envisioned the type of weapons we have today.
That's what we always say. I for one, I doubt that.
Well,
but two, they believe that.
So you're telling me that because of that, First Amendment only applies to people with a quill.
Yeah, it's a bad precedent when you do that. Exactly right. That would limit the First Amendment. You would limit so many of our rights. It was meant to be a blueprint. In fact, the founders might have thought we should have more guns, maybe even automatic weapons, because we would have to be able to defend ourselves against the government. Now, I read the history, and when you read the history of this, it becomes incredibly obvious that you can't just reinterpret the Second Amendment. Anyone who reads the history, understands the founders, knows that that's not going to work. The problem is, though, now that there's another thing the left is trying to do in this debate. So first they try to reinterpret the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. Once you throw the history and facts at them, it doesn't work. So what are they doing now? They say the Second Amendment is outdated. Mm-hmm. They want to get rid of the Second Amendment. They want to repeal the Second Amendment. They think it's outdated, it's archaic, and we need to repeal the Second Amendment. That's what's worrisome, that the left has become more emboldened over this issue in recent years, saying basically that we should just get rid of the Second Amendment then, that we don't need it. And you know, it worries me because when I talk to everyday Americans, there's a couple of things. You know, I talk to people that are not as in tune with politics as I am, or not as in tune with history as I am, not in tune to the facts as I am. Just every day you kind of keep up with the news. There's a couple of things I notice when it comes to this whole issue. One, a lot of people are ignorant on the reason the Second Amendment was put there. So many people, I bring up the fact that, well, it was put there to protect us against tyranny. They have no idea. So many people have no idea that's the case. That's why it was put there.
What's tyranny?
And then the second thing I notice is a lot of people are just frankly ignorant about guns. Mm-hmm. They have no idea. When I talk to people and I say, you know, what do you think should be done about guns? So this whole issue, they'll say, well, we need to ban automatic weapons. Nobody should be able to have automatic weapons. Automatic weapons are essentially banned for the most part. These weapons used in these killings are not automatic weapons. But so many people that I talk to, the first thing they'll tell me, we need to ban these automatic weapons. It just shows that a lot of people are just frankly ignorant about guns. They just are. We have to do a better job of educating people on guns, the type of guns, and facts about guns. Because then I'll bring up, and then they'll say, well, we don't need these AR-15s or whatever. And I say, there are plenty of mass shootings that happen with handguns. You want to ban those too? They have no idea. They just don't know. They hear things generally in the news, and that's it.
Or from their peers.
Yeah.
All right. Did you hear what's going on in England right now?
Yeah, the knifing.
Yeah,
attacks.
A lot of deaths from knives.
Well, and that's the thing.
Knives.
A violent crime, robberies, and murders have gone up in London, have gone up in England, have gone up in Wales. They got rid of all the guns. They confiscated guns, basically. And yet violent crime still happens? How is that possible? Of course it's possible. Because now people don't have the ability to defend themselves. The fact is, and this is really the crux of the matter, in my opinion, I should have the right to defend myself. Why should I not have the right to defend well, you don't need a gun to defend yourself. Maybe I do. If there's a lot of people in this country that are a lot stronger than me, a lot bigger than me, better fighters than me or whatever, that could take me down easily. Why should I not have the right to be able to defend myself against them? The best way for me to do that is with a gun, frankly. And why should I be dependent on the cops to do that?
Right, because you're a first responder. It takes the cops 5 to 10 minutes to get anywhere.
It is my right. That should be the end of it. All right, I want to end the show today with a story so beyond reason.
Uh-oh.
You just can't make it up. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffe. We'll be right back.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio. The conscience in your ear telling you the difference between right and wrong. Yaffe is back on the air.
Yes, welcome back to the show, everyone. It has been quite a show here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA. This is Beyond Reason Radio. If you miss any of the show, make sure to check the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. You can also send me a friend request on Facebook. I will accept it. Or you can follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. So, I have another story here, Tom Benson.
Uh-oh.
A story so beyond reason.
Stop the presses.
You just can't make it up. Something so beyond reason.
This is unbelievable.
I don't know if I should read the headline or if I should just play the audio of the news report first. Should I just surprise him with the audio of the news report? This, it should be the last thing.
I know the story.
So should I just play the audio?
Yeah.
All right, here it is from the local affiliate. A story so beyond reason you just can't make it up. Here's it is.
I said, get up, it's Jesus Day.
All she wanted was to go to church, but instead of a pew, this Phoenix mom spent most of Easter in a jail cell.
I don't think I did anything wrong, because you're supposed to put God first, and that's all I was trying to tell my kids, put God first.
But Sharon Dobbins says her sons were putting their friends first. They did not want to go to services here at Greater New Zion Baptist Church. Instead, they wanted to hang out with their buddies all day. So when one of her sons refused to get up and get ready, police say Sharon tased him.
He was like, Mom, I'm calling
Yes.
police. I say you can call police, UPS, DPS, whoever you want to call.
What?
Police were on the phone, and I told dispatcher, I told her, I said, you need to be with Jesus right now.
Sharon telling us she brought the taser out, but only as a threat.
Did you tase your son?
No, I made the noise with the taser, but I did not tase my son.
But Phoenix police say the boy had 2 marks on his left leg. They arrested her and brought her here to the 4th Avenue jail, where she spent 12 hours.
Nobody writes a book on the correct way of parenting.
Now, the 16-year-old boy is out of the house, staying with relatives for the time being. Sharon says she's learned her lesson and hopes her boys have learned theirs.
I told my sons this, honor thy mother, thy father, or the days will be shortened. That's my favorite.
In Phoenix, Nick Saletti, ABC 15, Arizona.
Okay.
How true, but a little bit too literal interpretation.
So she's right. It's Easter. Kid should be going to church. Okay, mom's like, yeah, I want to take my kid to church. So she gets out a taser, and she says she didn't tase him, but there are marks. So she tases.
Well, she said she made noise. How can you make a noise with a taser without actually using it?
Well, you could just
disengage,
push the button without actually touching him with it.
All right.
But, and then she says, nobody wrote a book on, how to raise a kid. Now, Tom Benson, you have kids. I know you didn't have to read a book to know you probably shouldn't tase your kid.
That's true, but it also proves that she has not been in a bookstore lately. There's hundreds of books on how to raise kids.
What's really funny is, the kid's on the phone with the dispatcher, and she says, you need to be with Jesus. The dispatcher is probably thinking, oh my God, she's going to kill him. It's just, yeah, I don't. And then she says, oh, honor your father and mother or your life will be shortened. A little bit of a, these are not the words you should say if you want to keep your kids. I'm just pointing that out. All right, I appreciate y'all listening to the show tonight. If you missed any show, catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are available. And, well, get you guys next time.
Conviction.